I'm Lin-Manuel Miranda, and you're listening to Hard NOC Life.
Well, it's the NOC in full color, you see me? The Hard NOC Life, comics, movies, and TV, yeah. Pop culture with a different
Okay, hi, welcome to Hard NOC Life, where we talk about all sorts of nerdy things that you might find at Comic-Con if it still existed in its natural form. It still kind of exists, but mainly we talk about the superhero shows lately. And I'm Dominic Ma.
I'm Brittany Monet.
Hi, Brittany. How's it going?
Pretty good. Just sipping my coffee, excited to talk about the things we have to talk about this week.
Yeah.
So,
Man, we're going to be in frickin' 2022 soon. Have you, wrapped your head around that? Just leaving aside that, we somehow got through these 2 years, which seemed to last 10,000 years. But then we're going to have this big futuristic number. We're going to be 2022, man.
I know. It's just crazy. I'm blessed to still be here.
Yes.
But, yeah. Wow. It's crazy how the numbers are going to start, just going up like that.
Yeah. And we're already past, 10 futuristic movies that were supposed to happen already. 2012, Blade Runner, Escape to New York, all those things. And the main thing we have now is we talk on Zoom. So anyway, Hawkeye episode 3 came out this week.
Yes.
And it was mainly an action sequence with Hawkeye and Kate Bishop fighting off these tracksuit mafia guys. And I dug it that they really made most of this one fight scene. What do you think?
Well, I really liked it because we got to see more of Maya, Echo. So that was really fun. I loved her backstory that, we got to see a little bit of. I don't know if that's how accurate it is in the comics, but...
Yeah, I still don't know who Echo is. I'm learning.
Yeah, no, I really liked her. She was a lot of fun, and her whole thing with her dad, it was heart-touching and stuff, and...
Yeah, it's a mean one, right? I mean, it looks like she's gonna go kind of Inigo Montoya in The Princess Bride, just walk up and you killed my father, prepare to die, Hawkeye. Which is a good test to put Hawkeye through, because one of the other themes is Clint owning up to all this mass vigilante killing he did while he was Ronin.
Yeah.
Which he doesn't quite own up to. I thought it was interesting to mention that if I'm not wrong, he's still dodging the question with Kate of whether he actually was Ronin, right?
Well, I don't think she's figured out that it's him. I think she knows that he at least knows who it is. I feel like that's where she's at with it, and he won't say, obviously, but yeah, it's definitely gonna cause some, friction between those two. And I think with Echo, it's gonna really make him realize that some of these people who are working, unfortunately, for these mafias and stuff are sometimes kind of people who had no other choice in order to survive, and not necessarily just people who are malice, if you know what I mean, who are just malice to be malice, if that makes sense. Right.
Well, I mean, it's a weird thing in the superhero genre, because I mean, they weren't aliens or robots, right?
Yeah.
This was, for a recap, Hawkeye spends most of his time with the Avengers at some point just fighting off a bunch of aliens and robots, or wizard summon demons or something. Mm-hmm. And then at some point between Infinity War and Endgame, he put on the Ronin suit and went on this tear of dealing with sort of traditional Earth-based crime of various mafias. But what it amounted to is he went up, killed a bunch of Japanese people in Japan and a bunch of Mexican people in Mexico. And, it has this very weird, war on terror kind of element to it. And, we danced around that for a while because there was bigger things happening, like with Thanos. But now it's Christmas, and he has to own up to it again. And so they bring back, the Tracksuit Mafia as one of the groups that he tore into in the past. And now they're kind of funny with their bros and stuff and coming back to try and get their revenge on him. And so, let's see, at the beginning of the episode, they're trapped in this warehouse, and Hawkeye cuts his way out, and there's this kind of really excellent action sequence with trick arrows and everything. They're get in a toy warehouse, I guess.
It used to be a KB Kids toy store, which there used to be one at least in the local mall out here.
Wait, did you just say KB Kids toy store?
Yeah.
Specifically that? You saw that?
Yes, and I
Oh.
remembered that because then like we used to love going there at the mall that had one. And yeah, I remember they always had this really cool Rogue like X-Men, like it was in between a Barbie and like an action figure, and I always wanted it and I never got it. So I always think of KB Kids toys because
Oh,
of
okay.
that. Yeah.
Which Keith would want to know this. It was some specific action figure that
Yeah, or
was
unless like
between universes.
I don't know if like me as a kid made it look like it looked cooler in my mind as a kid than what it actually was, but I thought it was a mix of like a Barbie and like an action figure of Rogue, and I was just I really wanted it and I don't know why I never got one.
Oh man,
Yeah.
that's big. Did she have like the Rogue hair?
Yeah,
So
she had
maybe
like,
you thought-
like from like, more like the cartoon specifically, like design hair and costume, and I always wanted that one. So
We're
I always
talking about this
associated-
extensively because there's holiday season and toys and KB, and even Toys R Us is coming back supposedly, so it's on theme. But wait, but was it like? So are you saying was it like an action oriented boy toy type thing, or did it have
was
like the
weird,
doll?
yeah,
look?
because it was in like the boys section of like like action figures and all of that, but it definitely looked more like like a Barbie, and I don't know.
Okay.
My parents never got it for me. So, and I had like tons and tons of Barbies, so it wasn't like they were like, oh, we can't buy you a Barbie. So I don't know
Oh.
why. Maybe they just thought that one was for boys, so that's why they didn't get it for me. I don't know.
Oh, maybe on the violent side of things. I mean, I'm just trying to picture this toy which you were describing.
No, or maybe it was just really expensive too. I don't know. But yeah.
Okay, cool. So that was a holy grail toy in your experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm remind me if I come back to it. I'm trying to think of the fancy toy that I never got. I'm sure it was some totally expensive Japanese robot thing that was made with real metal parts and like had 100 little missiles, and probably I could have choked to death and died on it. But yeah, stuff like that. So they're in the KB Toys warehouse. It's great. It kind of recalls the fight from Birds of Prey when they're swinging around and she does that cool like sort of spinning floor kick around the, it's a giant doll of some kind, and then they just jump in here anytime. I'm just trying to recall the elements of this rather complex action sequence.
Well, it was a lot because it starts in the warehouse and then it moves into like them being in the car chase, and it's a long action sequence. So
Yeah, in the car they do this great fancy kind of 360 swirling around them
Yeah.
shots, setting up all the obstacles, and it's really well done. I mean, like in the modern day, like these, long continuous tracking shots, they are a composite of real stuff and CGI, but they've gotten, quite adept at it, and it really, adds a sense of danger when you see the cars and things exploding from all angles. I thought that was a really good bit.
yeah, I did want to talk about real quick about how I liked the moments with Hawkeye and Maya or Echo, and she's talking to him about like why are you relying so much on your hearing aid technology and not just trying to be as you are. And I don't know, I loved those moments between them, and just the realization of like how she was forced to kind of like how much a lot of deaf people are forced to assimilate into a world of like trying to lip read and try to learn how to actually vocally speak instead of more people, especially their family, is some, even though her dad learned sign language, it's true for a lot of deaf people that their friends and family don't actually try to learn sign language. So I really liked her trying to like push Clint to like embrace
Yeah.
your disability. And
Even though she really doesn't like him.
no, I know she
Right.
doesn't like him, but she's like
It's
you
an
need to
interesting
embrace.
exchange.
She's like, I don't like you, but embrace your disability. What's wrong with you? Like
Yeah.
that.
Right. Because I take it she was born deaf, and
Yeah.
Clint is just hard of hearing from having explosions go off near his head all the time. So that's an acculturation thing, as he learns sign language to compensate for his hard of hearingness, which is gradually becoming more severe. And she, of course, was born and grew up in the culture of being deaf and using sign language all the time. Although I still don't, like, is she like Daredevil? Like, does she have the hypersenses or something? She has some flair, right?
I think she does. That's why she's always kind of paired with Daredevil in the comics, from what I know. I just haven't actually, like, dived into it. Because I remember when she was first introduced was kind of, I think, I want to say, is when the Netflix show for Daredevil started. So a lot of people were hoping she was going to end up on that show. But she never did. However, somebody is her uncle, or uncle...
Okay, wait.
Air quotations. I don't know if you noticed. In the scene was the flashback with her dad, and she's at karate.
Okay.
And then she's like, and then her dad's like, hey, I can't, like, take you home today, but your uncle will. And then you don't actually see her uncle's face, but you see a hand, and you hear a nice, like, a chuckle. And I know that chuckle from anywhere. That's Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin. He is definitely the guy who is in head. It's him.
Okay, I didn't pick up on this. So you're saying I didn't watch it that closely. That bit. Serious. I was sort of thinking about something else during that whole segment. But okay, so you're saying Kingpin makes a cameo in their martial arts training scene.
Yeah. Like, so when she's young and she's, like, you know, taking the class, and then her... You know, dad's like, hey, sweetie, I'm not going to be able to, like, you know, take you home today, but your uncle can. And then he's, like, standing behind her dad, which you can't really see him, but it's, you know, the guy has a nice suit on. And then, like, he, like, you know, kind of caresses
It seems like a large guy?
Yeah.
You have to tell me. I really didn't watch that part that closely.
I'll show you the clip after we're done, but he, like, caresses her, like, cheek in, like, you know, a nice, like, familial, family loving type of whatever, and then he chuckles, and it's like, if you know Vincent D'Onofrio's, like, laugh or whatever, you just know that it's him. So he chuckles, and everyone's like, oh, it's him. So yeah.
Okay, so if I'm going with this at the moment, so so she's connected to Kingpin, that would explain how she comes up in organized crime and is part of that world. Okay.
Well, because her dad obviously was, so if that's like, I don't know if they're actually blood related, but, you know, they're close enough where, like, you know, Kingpin got the uncle figure in her life.
Title, right? He might be like your uncle, friend of the family.
Yeah. So,
takes
like,
care of you.
Yeah, so definitely, you know, he's definitely involved with the tracksuit mafia. Because then, if you remember, the episode does kind of end with, you know, them saying, well, she's not the person they answer to, really. There's someone she answers to, so obviously it has to be Kingpin,
a lord of crime, you know. And in Hawkeye, the arc is we're still sort of searching for this organized crime guy who's behind all the big machinations. But, you know, I mean, I'm just skeptical because, like, I feel like there's this, you know, time-space barrier between the Netflix and, you know, current Disney Plus Marvel shows that has yet to be crossed.
So, Will, I have a question. Is this show ending the same week as Spider-Verse is out? I'm not Spider-Verse. No Way Home?
Spider-Man? Oh, that's a good question. I mean, because
there's 3 episodes left, right?
Yeah, something like that.
So, does it end around the same week?
It would be around the same week. I mean, I think Spider-Man's coming in about 2 weeks.
Let me look at my calendar.
I don't know if they're, in the time of COVID, they're capable of that kind of scheduling magic.
Okay.
Although
Spidey comes out on the 17th. So then we would have episode 4 on, is it the 8th, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm saying I think the last episode would come out after No Way Home is already
the last
debuted.
Episode then would come out on the 22nd of December.
In which case, you're thinking ...
They have to somehow line up. I don't know. But obviously, so either... Because if you remember the Netflix shows, they technically were in the same universe as... At least from Avengers 1, they were in the same universe.
Yes, they absolutely were. They talked about it in Daredevil Season 1 all the time, and also Jessica Jones Season 1.
So definitely... So it could be a branch reality thing where, like, you know... There's one version of the MC where Daredevil is never there, and then there's the Avengers 1, if things had actually kept going where they were connected reality.
Yeah.
Where Kingpin does exist, obviously, in that universe or something. So I don't know if the worlds are colliding.
Yeah.
Or he's just a variant of, like, you know, the Kingpin that we saw on Netflix, whatever. I don't know.
Now, I mean, apart from the novelty of it, can we talk for a second about how much we'd like to see Kingpin again, or what we were looking forward to? Because that Kingpin in Daredevil was like a spectacular character, just like an exceptional bad guy. His performance really gave a whole sense of threat to that Daredevil series.
Oh yeah, he was just so good. And that's why I feel like people are like, no, it has to be like, he has to come back. Like, you know, I feel like that's why people are gunning for him to come back, because he was just so good in the role. And just, I don't know, what they did on the first season of Daredevil too, to me was like just so good. Like Steven DeKnight and that whole crew, they did that. Yeah, I don't know, Vincent's so great. Like, I really hope that it is him. It sounded like him from that chuckle, so I think it is. I have to show it to you, because I know you're just like, I have no idea, but yeah.
I'm healthily skeptical of all these things, but then I like to be happily surprised. And wait, but that'll lead quickly into some other things that we're going to talk about, but we also, if there's anything else about the Hawkeye episode 3 that we should mention.
The phone call scene where Clint's youngest son, Nathan, called to like basically say like, Dad, I miss you, coming home, and he couldn't hear because his hearing aid wasn't working at the time. Yeah. And, you know, Kate had to come in and like start writing on a notepads everything that Nathan was saying, and that was just a really like, it was just really good scene. And I just, this show is really making me like Jeremy Renner. Yeah, and that's what's frustrating. Well, like, I did not see that in the bingo cards this year. Was, oh, Brittany's actually really gonna enjoy Jeremy Renner.
Well, do you like Bruce Willis in Die Hard?
I you know, I haven't seen Die Hard in a long time, so I don't remember it. I was probably like 5 or 6 when I saw them. But
okay.
Yeah. But I really do like Jeremy Renner in this. And I mean, I did like him in the movie The Town, but he was really just not a good guy in The Town, so that's different.
Oh, yeah. He was a lethal badass. Yeah, and a really touching scene when Kate is assisting, and it gets very intimate because you're in the POV of not having your hearing. And again, that's like Daredevil, which is something they did wonderfully in that show, was play with the point of view so you could get inside the head of people who've had their senses distorted or like relying more on one sense than the other ones. And so that was pretty neat. And yeah, so I would say the more things they could borrow from Daredevil, including the actual characters, you know, all to the profit of Hawkeye. But it was also cool because Hawkeye has more gadgets than Daredevil, and you know, in this wonderfully developed action sequence, I mean, it's really a good case study of like how things escalate. Like, it's just first like they're trapped, and then they're hand to hand, and then they have this sort of like Die Hard, like, you know, Hawkeye being, you know, chased around in tight corridors. Then he gets his arrows back. He finds the arrows, so he's like leveled up and like he's indestructible for a while. But then there are more of the dudes, and then they jump out in the car. And so I mean, just to say that's like, it's a well-paced sequence because it's all leading up to they get the car chase, and finally he busts out the actual high-tech arrows, which Kate is very excited about.
Yeah, I loved all the different arrows, and then obviously the final one that we get to see is the Pym arrow.
Yeah, very, very convoluted way of creating a large rock to destroy a truck, right?
Pretty much, yeah. That was good. As soon as I saw Pym, I was like, oh my god, that they're gonna make that arrow really huge. Yeah, which I liked that. That was fun. I'm really enjoying this show so far, and I think like maybe Nate was saying last week, because it's such like low stakes compared to the grand scheme of like the MCU, that it's just fun to like have something that's more like, you know, intimate to watch right now. And yeah, and they're doing a really good job with like making people who probably didn't like Jeremy Renner so much in Hawkeye like him more, so it's really fun. And then, as we have all said, Haley is just killing it.
Yeah, Haley Steinfeld's doing great. Yeah, so on that point, I mean, when we're talking about crossovers, there is a kind of synergy that's happening because Hawkeye is out, and then rather unexpectedly they dropped a teaser for the next Into the Spider-Verse movie, which is called Across the Spider-Verse, which of course Haley Steinfeld is also in as Gwen Stacy, or Spider-Gwen. Okay, wait, I'm aside. Are we still calling her Spider-Gwen? I think she's officially renamed Ghost Spider in the comics, but and she calls herself Spider-Woman in Spider-Verse, right? I know. What do you call her?
But I still call her Spider-Gwen, but I mean,
because you're attached to OG Spider-Woman.
Yeah, I am.
Right?
I'm very attached to OG Jessica Drew, the 616 version, because I know there's the Ultimate version, who's like actual clone of Peter Parker, but OG Jessica Drew is Spider-Woman to me.
Sure.
Which they didn't show her in the trailer because we all know Issa Rae is going to be voicing her. But no, I'm really, really excited. It looks like Miles is like a little bit older in this. I don't know, it looks just really fun. I really love Into the Spider-Verse, the first one. It was so good. And I like that it is a part one, the next one we're getting.
Yeah.
I don't know, and I feel like it's going to be fun because the voice cast is great.
Yeah. Another interconnected point, I guess Oscar Isaac is voicing Spider-Man 2099, and Oscar Isaac is also Moon Knight. So there's two of the nerdiest actors alive, basically, Oscar Isaac and Haley Steinfeld, we can say, playing two different Marvel characters. But yeah, Into the Spider-Verse, which is just a masterpiece. I mean, I'm happy to talk about it all day. Just like, you know, the truly great Marvel movie, the truly great Spider-Man movie above all others. And we could fight about it all day if you want, but that one is like successful on so many levels.
I think because one, it's closer to actually like reading the comics because of the animation style, and then with animation you can get away with doing pretty much everything that Spider-Man is supposed to be able to do because it's all animated. You don't have to worry about like trying to make it look like an actual real person in live action is doing it. It's because I feel like certain Spider-Man stunts in the movies don't always translate as well as they could just because of that issue of like it's hard to make a normal human look like they're doing that. So
it's been a continuing evolution, right? Since you know if I turned on one of the old Maguire Spider-Man movies last week just because it was in the air, and you know the web swinging was like so cool at the time, but now like with our jaded eyes we look back at it and it's like, oh, it looks a little bit like you know less photorealistic than it got to be in Amazing and the right,
which I always feel bad saying this, that I just don't think those movies aged as well as they could have.
The first Maguire movies, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh no, I don't think they have at all.
Yeah, there's things about it that I still think are fun and great, but like, yeah, to me as a whole, they don't hold up. So that's why I feel like if you're not talking about it out of like pure nostalgia, I'm just like, I don't know. Especially for people who think that like Into the Spider-Verse is not as good as the Maguire movies. That's where I'm like, we're gonna fight now.
I don't know. Well, I mean, people have their animated versus live action thing, but I mean, but I just think I feel like it's the hard nostalgia for the Maguire movies, and I mean they did start coming out around 9/11, right? or it was around that year, like, so when a certain generation is growing up and just like a lot of shit is intensely felt. But yeah, there's no question that Into the Spider-Verse is the best fully realized Spider-Man movie. And just to rant about something for a second, just because you mentioned it, you know, I like to mention that Spider-Man, the live action movies, really did change movies as we know it in this current age because of exactly what you said. The web swinging was a thing that you could not do in live action movies until CG got to a point where they could do this photorealistic thing of convincing you that a guy who is completely animated a computer, not a real guy at all, was flying around in a real world environment. You know, before you could simply not do that. In the live action Spider-Man shows of the last century, it was always a little awkward because you honestly can't simulate web swinging without putting a guy's life in extreme danger. There's just no way you can do it. We had special effects for getting people to fly. We could kind of get the lasers to come out of the eyes. The web swinging was something that was just completely impractical. So when they introduced photorealistic web swinging around 2001, it did turn a corner in movies, you know, to our current state of movies where basically anything can happen because it can be drawn with photorealistic CGI. And of course the web swinging is getting better over the years. You know, if you compare the Maguire movies and the Holland movies, you know, the shading and the lighting, and and he just feels very much more in the world than before. But anyway, that's my long way of saying Spider-Man changed all movies into what we currently have as movies. But there's there's still no conquering what they can do in the animated version with just like impossible angles and just like the sheer kinetic power of the swinging around. And that's what they tease into the Spider-Verse thing, where we get to see a little bit of the world of, I presume it's 2099, right? Is it called Earth 2099 in the Marvel lore? I don't even know.
I think so. I think that's the Earth that they're going to. But I don't know. I'm really excited for the next one because like I said, I really loved the first one like so many people did. It very much deserved that Oscar win. Honestly, I wish voice acting was taken more serious in terms of like getting like Academy Awards and stuff, because I feel like
like add a category or two.
Yeah, because it was just so, I don't know. The movie was just really good and dynamic, and everyone was so like perfectly cast, and their voice acting was just and Brian Trey Henry actually was in that. He voices Miles's dad, who is
is he the dad?
Was Fastos in Internals. Oh wait, and Mahershala Ali actually voiced the Prowler.
Oh yeah, he's
Uncle
Prowler.
Aaron, who is now Blade.
Right.
So there's a lot of
very deep character, that Uncle Aaron. A lot of turns and choices there.
Yeah.
And so we get a glimpse of Earth 2099, which like is so colorful and like fuzzed out and like overstimulating. And I like to think that, like, you know, one of the great things about Spider-Verse is that, I mean, the way they use color is amazing because and spectacular, because they do ground you in sort of the browns and grays of actually walking through New York City, and then they'll enter the interdimensional world and they'll hit you with this kaleidoscopic burst of things, and that's what like gives it its energy, which is so powerful. And then so if they actually end up going to the future world, which I don't know, I don't know what the name of the art style is exactly, but I did feel like super overstimulated and it's actually hard to see everything. Which is maybe like what the future will be. We'll have like so much content and stimulation happening all the time, like we actually won't be able to process. It'll just be like this big blah blah, like buzz rave, like light show going on all the time. I think that might be an interesting angle to take on their depiction of 2099. So I guess do we know it was going to be called Part 1, or we didn't know it was
I don't think we knew that, because that's what I was like, Part 1. So that made me excited. I don't know. I just hope there's a lot of Spider-Woman in there. I'm really looking forward to Issa Rae playing Jessica. That's, like, I feel like the most exciting, like, news I've heard this year, besides, like, Hayden Christensen returning to the Star Wars world. Like,
I mean, have you actually heard the words Jessica Drew? I'm not trying to like, you know, harsh on your mellow. I just wonder if like it might be another Spider-Woman, or
there are other Spider-Womans, but I feel like, well, they shouldn't cast her as Anya Corazon, because Anya Corazon should be voiced by a Latina.
There's that.
I mean, she could be Betty Brant, who kind of is one point Spider-Girl, Spider-Woman. I don't know. I'm just hoping she is Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman.
Right, and maybe there'll be some funny exchange over what we call Gwen, who in the first one introduced herself as the one and only Spider-Woman. Not trying to start a fight, just because at the time in Spider-Verse there was a lot to keep track of.
Oh, so yeah, no. When she said that, though, it was funny because I laughed. I was like, okay, you think that.
Right, you go ahead. We know there's like 6 more. But that would make, you know, Into the Spider-Verse even more like too much like reading to catch up on, right? Because they already did, like, and that's the other thing, like, Into the Spider-Verse is pretty complex. Like, they're doing the origin story like every 5 minutes, and it becomes sort of its own gag. But like when people are like, you know, I can't follow the Marvel stuff because like there's too much, you know, backstory to know about. I mean, Into the Spider-Verse, the plot is just wacky and it's all over the place.
Yeah.
Because it's like very elegantly written and everything's kind of funny. Like you get to go along with the joke and you don't have to like know every single thing. Like sort of the ingeniousness of revealing that it's Part 1 across the Spider-Verse, Part 1. And it's going to be this epic story that is long enough for 2 parts, according to one of the screenwriters, Dave Callahan. I mean, it kind of sets it up to be like Infinity War and Endgame sort of pairing, as they had in, you know, the core Marvel Cinematic Universe. I thought that was interesting because, as we all know, the rights to do Spider-Man movies are in legal contention all the time, and we don't know like 3 years from now, who's supposed to have the rights to do Spider-Man, or who's going to be playing him. So I feel like Sony's
You do know that Tom Holland is doing 3 more Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, that's what Amy Pascal says. So. I mean, that's like, yes, I do know that she said that.
Yeah, so Tom Holland has 3 more to go.
I don't think they signed any paper on it. I think that's her talking like
maybe
in a positive attitude sort of way. I mean,
we'll see.
We will see. I mean, and that would be fine. But I didn't mean to say it was. I think because some of those things are uncertain, Sony might be gearing up to have an epic conclusion to their Spider arc, just in case the rights change hand against the next couple of years. In which case they may be going for like an Endgame kind of summation with Across the Spider-Verse Part 2, in which would have all the things, like 1,000 different Spider characters and like some great kind of climax to the Spider arcs. But yeah, let's take a break to reset and talk about our sponsors, Manscaped, and then we'll come back and talk about more Spider-Man stuff probably. Ho ho ho, gentlemen. The holidays came early here at Manscaped, the leading men's hygiene brand. Manscaped just launched new products, including their all-new Ultra Premium Body Wash and a 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. It's time to give yourself, or someone who needs it, the gift of beautiful skin, hair, and balls this holiday season. Go to manscaped.com and use code HARDNOC, HARDNOC, for 20% off plus free shipping. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code HARDNOC, HARDNOC. Clean up your nuts and make Santa proud this year. Okay, so we're back. Across the Spider-Verse trailer, teaser, special look dropped.
Yes. Real quick, you know who was missing from the trailer? My boy Peter B. Parker was missing. I love Peter B. Parker. That's like probably, I'm going to be honest, it's like my favorite version of Peter Parker.
Yeah.
I like him so much. He's a sad boy, and I love, me. I
yeah,
love
totally.
Sad boys. So, yeah, I love him. But, Miles I am so glad that we have something with Miles. I really do hope, though, we'll see Miles in live action at some point, because he deserves a live action version as well.
Oh, we will, for sure. That is destiny. But yeah, it's great to mention Peter B. Parker. I mean, because that was kind of the innovation into the Spider-Verse. And sorry, being a bad nerd, I don't know if that was based on any particular arc that kind of got married and became kind of schlumpy Peter Parker story.
I don't know either, but I like to.
Yeah, I thought it was a great twist. And yeah, so we hope he's back as well. And I wonder if he got Mary Jane that bread and remarried or something. And yeah, all the Spider characters. So we're still anxiously anticipating Spider-Man No Way Home, which is pretty much the Star Wars level movie event of these past couple of years. Can we agree?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know people were fighting for movie tickets, so that was...
Yeah.
So where I work, some of you may know where I work, some of you don't, but if you don't, I like to call it jitters when I'm talking about it. Coffee shop, basically. And we do our schedules like 3 weeks in advance. So I never actually requested the day off. So I was like, oh crap, I don't know when I'm working. And I usually work a lot of like mids to closing shifts. So I was like, oh crap, I don't even know what I'm working. And then the tickets went on sale and people were like, I couldn't get any tickets. And I was like, oh crap, I'm not going to be able to get any tickets. And then I was like, as soon as the schedule posted for that week, I was like, okay, I'm just going to get tickets if I can. Luckily, I was able to find some. So I am going when I get off work, but it won't be till like 9:30 on the 17th p.m. So. And
is it Thursday or the Friday? Or?
It's a Friday. It's the 7th. So the movie officially comes out in the U.S. December 17th. Because I know in like the UK it's coming out December 15th or something like that.
Yes.
So,
well, maybe because Holland's British, so he gets special rights or something.
No, but a lot of the Marvel movies actually come out like a day or two ahead in the UK.
Yeah. No, that's true.
I don't know why, but they do. But yeah, I was just like, oh, okay, cool. I was able to get tickets. So, yeah I'm glad I'm seeing that.
Yeah, I mentioned that the chase for tickets again because, we are still in a pandemic, and this will be an interesting test of the situation, just because it is the largest scale movie to come out that is supposed to be like, Star Wars, Avengers level interest. So I myself am still a Little sad that we have to incur risk, especially with a movie that is likely to be much more popular than, let's be fair, Eternals or Shang-Chi.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people are going to try to get into there with a fully packed theater. But of course I want to, and we want to, because we're Spider fans, right?
Yeah.
So, just saying, if you're listening out there, the personal risk assessment is still the bottom line. And yeah, we have to gauge that against how much we need to know all the Spider stuff on the opening day. Yeah. So one thing that happened was, because these trailers come out, it is less a mystery now, like how many freaking villains are in it and who is playing them. So they started to actually, unwrap the box on that one. Some early Christmas information. Did you happen to watch the press event where some of the actors, including I think Melina and Defoe, were there?
Yes, I watched it. So it's Melina, Defoe, and Jamie Foxx, and basically I think they're being interviewed by a Brazilian media outlet thingy, and so they kind of asked them what was it like, especially for William and Alfred, what was it like, returning to these characters so many years later. And so funny, speaking of how we were talking about technology and the web slinging, how it's improved over the years. William talked about his costume fitting process for the Goblin, and he was it took 8 hours just to do a costume fitting, not to get your costume on, just do the costume fitting, because he was they had to put on different pieces to see what fit right and all this stuff. And he was just saying it took a really long time. And he's now with Marvel, you stand there, he's they scan your body and then they print out basically, or mold the pieces based on that print, and then you put it on. And he's that only took such a less time.
Wow.
Versus having to do that. And he's it's a little bit more comfortable though than the suits used to be, is what he said.
Yeah, that's fascinating, because even though the actors are older, the costume technology has improved by a lot in 20 years.
Yes. So just to hear just the improvement in costume technology. And then even Alfred talked about his, he was well, mine was an actual puppeteer rigged arms that were actually there, and I was wearing them. So he was I had them on, and then there's puppeteers that would actually control in each individual a mechanical tentacle. He's in this though, he's they just had me do my thing, and they're basically adding it in post. So the tentacles this time are not gonna be puppeteered. And then, Jamie Foxx was talking about, he's well, I'm not blue this time. He was my costume process, though, for Amazing Spider-Man 2 took 2 to 3 hours just to paint me blue and do all this stuff.
They did actually paint him blue, right?
Yes. Yeah. So they actually did paint him blue. So he said that took 2 to 3 hours. He's this time, I look a little different. And I know they said every villain has a twist on exactly so they might not be exactly Toby's villains, or they might not exactly be Garfield's. I know they said there's a twist on them, so I'm just trying to figure out, is the twist just when they switch over to a different universe, their costumes are different, and that's not much of a twist, or what it is. But I know Jamie said William's performance is so great because he's his motivation is more personal than the other villains involved.
Wait, William, which what are you talking about?
So Jamie talked. So
Goblin,
Jamie, so Jamie was talking about all because they were kind of talking about their characters' motivations, and they were all saying, well, it's a little bit different than where you saw us. Because Jamie's talking about, he's my character is more upset of kind of how the world treated him, and and then he's for Williams, it's more about how this one individual person treated him, and his is more personal. And he's and that plays a huge part into this movie. And it sounds like Green Goblin is the ringleader in these, from what they're talking about. Okay. It sounds like Green Goblin is the ringleader of these set of villains in No Way Home.
And that makes sense, because he does have the most personal beef. I mean, even go back to the comics, he's the most personally vendetta against Spider-Man specifically. So he could round up all the other villains who maybe have diverse and weird motivations. I can't even remember what Dr. Octopus's problem was in that first movie. Did he just want to maybe make some big generator? Or
yeah, and then his wife died, and then he decided to kill everybody.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So.
But, yeah, basically, I know Jamie was just saying William was fun to watch because his motivations for his character are much more personal than everyone else's. So yeah,
like he's the guy who says, you know, you know what, let's go kill this spider guy. Like, that's the thing we're doing today, you know, apart from all our other life goals, which is great. That's personally what I want to see. I mean, I want to see like the Spider-Man's villains like really viscerally going after him. So it's a challenge.
That was like the main parts, is basically there is a twist on all their characters. So they're saying they're playing almost pretty much the same character we saw before, but different. And I'm like, but what's the different part? So that's why I don't know if it's different because of them being brought into, like I said, a different universe. They're changing up their costumes a little bit, are entirely a variant of that character that they already played, you know? So that's the thing that we don't know for sure. And then, like they talked about again, the technology processes and costuming. That was pretty much it. And yeah, just how sounds like William is like the ringleader, and it's definitely very more personal for him than everyone else involved in this. So yeah.
And did you happen to notice were the guys who played Lizard or Sandman there?
No, it was just those three.
Okay.
So I feel like they're gonna be the three main ones that we're seeing, and then the other two will just yeah.
Again, Lizard and Sandman being the ones who can be completely computer animated, so we don't even know if there's a real actor person attached.
Yeah, but I don't know. I do think that I do think we're gonna see the other one. I feel like we're gonna see one of the other ones at least. I don't know about both, but we're gonna see one of the other one.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good bet.
Yeah. I just don't know which one.
Yeah. That's just one little thing that's been bothering me about the No Way Home trailer was, like, the whole premise is that he tries to get his spell to protect his secret identity, right? And what I'm gathering is, like, the spell doesn't go off at all. Like, I thought maybe it goes off halfway, or it goes off successfully, but there are repercussions. But I'm getting the sense that it just doesn't work entirely, and all it does is end up summoning these interdimensional villains. And the reason I say this is because he's like so urgent about trying to, you know, make his identity secret again. But in the trailer, it's pretty obvious he goes from Peter Parker and costumes up on a freeway in front of everyone. And then he's fighting Dr. Octopus. And the first time he's pinned, he like takes the mask off. So it's like something about there is like, you're not actually protecting your secret identity, Peter.
Yes, but remember when Doc Ock takes off his mask, he's like, you're not Peter. So...
Right. So there's a disconnect from his standpoint.
Yes. So I think that then there's this, maybe they don't think that he's really Spider-Man or whatever. I don't know, but that's why a part of me still feels like that Doctor Strange, because of how the spell goes, is not Doctor Strange that we know. I still think that, I don't know, maybe because I'm so waiting for like, I don't know if it's the, what do you call it, effect, like the J.J. Abrams effect of like what's in the mystery box, that like there's actually like the box really is just like there's really nothing there.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Sometimes happens.
So I don't know if I'm over like imagining what's in this box, but I keep thinking that it's like Doctor Strange we met in What If, the one that gets stuck in the little like, or has to watch that dimension thingy,
right?
Like that one. I think it's him.
Oh, okay. A variant Doctor Strange with a slightly worse attitude.
I think the only reason why is because I feel like I feel like there's some, like you said, there's something off about the spell. Like it just completely doesn't work at all. And I don't know. It has to be the other Doctor Strange.
Because Cumberbatch is being a bit of a dick in all the scenes we've seen so far. Does that play into it? Or,
like
I mean, he's always kind of a dick.
He always kind of is, but there's a different, like, you know what I mean? There's a different energy behind it this time. That's why I'm like, I don't know. There's something not entirely right here.
Yeah, and on that point, it would be cool if they could give us a surprise that was actually a surprise, because with this movie, we spend a lot of time talking about things that are like sort of anticipated surprises. It would be cool if they could do something like that, which I think not as many people are thinking about, but is an actual thrilling plot twist, and that Doctor Strange might not be the Doctor Strange we're used to, and might not have. And
that could be why we have Multiverse of Madness, because then Doctor Strange has to go against Doctor Strange again.
Yeah. And can I just say, in the subtrope of when superheroes fight themselves or different versions of themselves. You know, this happens when Iron Man like fights someone else in the Iron Man armor thing. I think Benedict Cumberbatch is the guy I would like to see fight an evil version of himself. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, exactly. That would be so fun. Yeah,
like we could just have like different sort of psycho-divergent versions of Doctor Strange, and I don't know, because I think Cumberbatch is still one of the most flexible actors that they have, and I'm surprised he's been going with this reluctant hero thing for so long. It would be cool to see him inhabit some different aspects of evil Doctor Strange, or Chameleon, or Mephisto, or whoever it is, or Mephisto who is actually Chameleon, which wouldn't make any sense. Cool. Anything else you want to mention before we wrap up into nerd popping?
I don't know. I'm just, as we all have talked about, I'm excited for what's going to actually happen with this movie. I know that they haven't finished the movie yet, and all of the critics are only getting to see like a certain amount of it. So I don't know if it's they haven't finished editing the movie, like that happens with a lot of the Marvel movies. They don't get finished editing until a certain time. So I don't know if that's what it is, or if it's we actually have Andrew and Toby, or one of them or both of them, in the movie, and we're trying to keep it secret, so critics are only going to see like a certain amount of the movie. So I don't know if that's what's going on, but no one is going to get to see the full version of the movie until the official premiere. So
and let's be mean to film critics and say it probably doesn't matter, because this Spider-Man movie is as critic-proof as things can be.
Well, I think we also got to stop the idea that some of the critics aren't necessarily fans, because there's some that I follow that are fans of superhero films and stuff like that. So I don't know. I feel like it's a weird, like, some of them are the snotty assholes who, don't know when a movie's meant to just be fun. And then there's some who are actual, like, legitimate fans who, like, have legitimate criticisms too. So yeah.
But those are probably the ones that we're worried about, just in terms of advanced press reviews, which come out a little bit before the movie actually comes out. I mean, yes, we'll see every critical voice, hopefully, when the movie actually comes out in the public. But they're probably gauging that, like, like, we can't risk anybody writing about this thing that we're inserting at the last second.
Yeah, I really do think the other guys are showing up, and maybe someone else too. I don't know. I feel like
have you heard Andrew Garfield talk about it lately?
He just is like, I'm not in it.
I think he's just covering his tracks, or
he keeps just saying he's not in it, but when I've seen like the like clips of interviews, he just always looks so perplexed. So yeah, I don't know. I'm assuming he's actually in it and trying to say he's not, but I don't know. We'll see when the movie's out.
And again, in this special case, lying to protect Peter Parker's secret identity is fine. If Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, you've been lying all this time, and under the spirit of protecting the secret of Spider-Man, that's cool. We're not going to hold you to task on that one. So cool. Yeah, anxiously looking to that big web of Spider-Man things. Brittany, would you like to say what's nerd popping this week?
Yeah, so this is more of a let's make this happen. So yeah, in an interview, Adam Driver said that he would love to return as Ben Solo in the Star Wars universe. So, me, that is my favorite character from the sequels. So I am very much on the yes, Ben Solo returns train. I'm really excited if they're going to do something with that. I don't know. I really loved those like few seconds we got in The Rise of Skywalker when he was like, actually Ben Solo and trying to redeem himself a little bit. And I'm like, a full movie of Adam Driver leaning into more of like the Han Solo thing would be great. And they would make so much money off of that. And tons of people love Adam because of just, I haven't seen House of Gucci
leaning more
yet.
into the fact that he's Han Solo's kid?
Yeah, like, yes, that's what I mean. Because in those last, like, when you see him, like, when he's, like, doing the whole thing with the gun and there's, like, the whole, like, shoulder thing, like, I don't know. It was all very Harrison Ford, and they need to do a whole movie of just leaning into that.
Right.
I will see it 20 times if they do that, so.
I didn't really think about it from that angle, but yes, of course, Star Wars is built on people, on fathers and sons, and, like, there's dramas across generations, so, yeah, of course, that's good. like that. My nerd popping is, well, it's not because I'm like super in favor of it, but a Peacemaker trailer did come out this week. Peacemaker would be a spin-off of the Suicide Squad movie that came out recently. And so James Gunn is going ahead to make a series with John Cena as the Peacemaker dude. You know, sort of an interesting choice based on like all the different characters that were in the last Suicide Squad, but one that I think is very on brand with James Gunn, because really like his lane is like bros doing kind of funny bro talk. Right? So Peacemaker is like the best example of that within the new Suicide Squad. And, you know, although like it's like not my favorite idea for a show or a character or anything, I do have hope that it'll be an interesting satire of the superhero series as a concept, because like sort of in the way that, you know, Punisher makes us step back and go, oh wait, what is this superhero thing that I like so much? Because there's this dangerous side, of course, that like, you know, in the practical real world, we actually had superheroes, it would be like some muscly guy with guns. And let's be honest, it wouldn't go well. So there are only a couple like scenarios in the movies and TV shows where this might even get addressed, and Peacemaker is one of those because he's a muscly dude with guns and a ridiculous costume. So there's some interesting areas to play in there, I would say. But okay, so that'll be Hard NOC Life for today. Brittany, how can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Hi Brittany Monet. And the first episode of the Naomi podcast is officially dropped, which you can check us out at Naomi Podcast on Twitter. And I think that's also our Facebook stuff. But yeah, the first episode, me and Nate and Andy Babak, who is our actual producer and stuff for the podcast, joins us, where we actually break down the first 3 chapters of the book Naomi, because I don't know why the book is actually called season 1, so it's not like season 1 of the show.
As if they're expecting it to be a TV show at some point.
Yes, so we talk about the first 3 chapters basically in the season 1 book of Naomi. So it was really fun. I am so very excited for this journey with this show, so I can't wait.
Great. I'm Dominic Ma, and you can find me at Domma, DOMMAH, on Instagram or Twitter. And I also write for the Nerds of Color, the blog. We're all associated with nerdsofcolor.org and all our various podcasts, which I'm not going to go into the full list, but there's Hard NOC Life, and there's our YouTube channel, and we have a Twitch channel too, also Nerds of Color. We're just going to start getting into the video game space more. So that's cool, and I guess until next time,
I'm going to rub some dirt in your eye.
Right? Sounds literally dirty, and it's cool.